All right, let's pick up where we left off. They're playing this game, Jumanji, and just like in the movies, everything that happened that when they rolled the dice and they landed on the piece, on the place, on the board, something happened. Something came out of the game. So let's see what's going to come out this next time. Whoa. 4, 5, 6, he counted. Bitten by tsetse flies. Contract sleeping sickness, lose 1 turn. Judy heard a faint buzzing noise and watched a small insect land on Peter's nose. Peter lifted his hand to brush the bug away, but then stopped, gave a tremendous yawn, and fell sound asleep, his head on the table. "Peter, Peter, wake up!" cried Judy, but it was no use. She grabbed the dice and moved to a blank. She rolled again and waited in amazement. Rhinoceros stampede. Go back 2 spaces. As fast as he had fallen asleep, Peter awoke. Together, they listened to a rumble in the hallway. It grew louder and louder. Suddenly, a herd of rhinos charged through the living room and into the dining room, crushing all the furniture in their path. Peter and Judy covered their eyes as sounds of splintering wood and breaking china filled the house. So what's china? China would be the dishes and the cups. Ooh. Peter gave the dice a quick tumble. Python snakes into camp. Go back 1 space. Judy shrieked and jumped up on her chair. "Over the fireplace," said Peter. Judy sat down again, nervously eyeing the 8-foot snake that was wrapping itself around the mantel clock. The guide looked up from his map, took 1 look at the snake, and moved to the far corner of the room, joining the monkeys on the couch. Judy took her turn and landed on a blank space. Her brother took the dice and rolled a 3. "Oh no," he moaned. "Volcano erupts. Go back 3 spaces." The room became warm and started to shake a little. Molten lava poured from the fireplace opening. It hit the water on the floor and the room filled with steam. Judy rolled the dice and moved ahead. "Discover shortcut. Roll again." "Oh dear," she cried. Judy saw the snake unwrapping itself from the clock. "If you roll a 12, you can get out of the jungle," said Peter. "Please, please," Judy begged as she shook the dice. The snake was wiggling its way on the floor. She dropped the dice from her hand. 1 6, then another. Judy grabbed her piece and slammed it onto the board. "Jumanji!" she yelled as loud as she could. The steam in the room became thicker and thicker. Judy could not even see Peter across the table. Then, as if all the doors and the windows had been opened, a cool breeze cleared the steam from the room. Everything was just as it had been before the game. No monkeys, no guide, no water, no broken furniture, no snake, no lion roaring upstairs, no rhinos. Without saying a word to each other, Peter and Judy threw the game into its box. They bolted out the door and ran across the street to the park, and then dropped the game under a tree. Back home, they quickly put all their toys away. But both children were too excited to sit quietly, so Peter took out a picture puzzle. As they fit the pieces together, their excitement slowly turned to relief, and then exhaustion. With the puzzle half done, Peter and Judy fell sound asleep on the sofa. "Wake up, dears," Mother's voice called. Judy opened her eyes. Mother and Father had returned, and their guests were arriving. Judy gave Peter a nudge to wake him, yawning and stretching. They got to their feet. Mother now introduced them to some of the guests and then asked, "Did you have an exciting afternoon?" "Oh, yes," said Peter. We had a flood, a stampede, a volcano. I got sleeping sickness, and Peter was interrupted by the adults' laughter. Well, said Mother, I think you both got sleeping sickness. Why don't you go upstairs and put your pajamas on? Then you can finish your puzzle and have some dinner. When Peter and Judy came back downstairs, they found that their father had moved the puzzle into the den. While the children were working on it, one of the guests, Mrs. Budwig, brought them a tray of food. Such a hard puzzle, she said to the children. Daniel and Walter are always starting puzzles and never finishing them. Daniel and Walter were Mrs. Budwig's sons. They never read instructions either. Oh well, said Mrs. Budwig, turning to rejoin the guests. I guess they'll learn. Both children answered, I hope so. But then they weren't looking at Mrs. Budwig. They were looking out the window. Two boys were running through the park. They were Danny and Walter Budwig, the children who she was talking about, her children. And with them, they had a box under their arms. And so the story continues. And we call that an ambiguous ending, where it's left up to you. I hope you enjoyed it.